Welcome to Building People, Companies, and Careers, brought to you by AccruePartners. I'm Amy Pack.
And I'm Patty Comer. We're your host on this journey through the vibrant business landscape in the Queen City.
This podcast is an extension of our mission statement at AccruePartners, where we have spent over 20 years fostering connections and building relationships.
Whether you're a client, candidate, or business influencer in Charlotte, this podcast is for you.
We are immensely grateful for your support throughout our journey, and now through this podcast, we're excited to share the stories that have defined our path.
So let's dive in.
Let's do it. Welcome back to Building People, Companies, and Careers, brought to you by AccruePartners. I'm your host, Amy Nolan Pack. At AccruePartners, we are passionate about bringing together clients, candidates, and consultants, as well as thought leaders shaping the business community in Charlotte, the Carolinas, and beyond. I am thrilled to have with me today Jim Jensen, VP of Total Rewards at Krispy Kreme. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so super excited to kick this podcast off. One, it's always fun talking to you. You keep it interesting and philosophical and fun. You don't take things too serious. Talk a little bit about how our salary guide is woven into what you do and you and your team do every day, and about your career journey. So I always like to start off by the typical interview question. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, well, that's open-ended, right? I'm Jim Jensen. I currently serve as the head of Total Rewards at Krispy Kreme. I'm honored to serve in that role there. I work for an amazing leader over there, Terry Zandheis. I'm originally from Wisconsin. Went to UW-Eau Claire, which is the public Ivy of the Chippewa Valley. Graduated from school and entered into the Total Rewards industry from day one. The Total Rewards craft, starting in compensation. Lived in New York for 6 years. Moved to Charlotte with my wife in 2004 for a compensation role here. I currently work at Krispy Kreme, like I mentioned. I have 21 years in the Total Rewards space, growing up mostly on the compensation side. I live here in Charlotte with my two grown children. I'm almost an empty nester. But probably the most important thing that I would want people to know about me is I'm a man of faith. And I believe in Jesus Christ, and that's probably the most important thing to know about me.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for sharing that. So going back to the beginning of your career, you started in comp. Was your degree in HR? Was it in finance? Because not most people just come out and start in comp.
Yeah.
So maybe share a little bit about that.
Yeah, especially then. When I was in college, I think there were only two college programs that had HR as a discipline.
Right.
One of them was Cornell, which has forever been the leader in human resources. But we had one at UW-Eau Claire, and I was fortunate. I lived in a house where my dad graduated from being an alcohol and other drug abuse counselor into selling employee assistance programs for a regional hospital to small and medium-sized businesses in Wisconsin. And I realized it's probably one of the rare times I had a true vision. I realized that he was selling into HR people at all of these companies, whether it be like a regional dairy, mid-sized manufacturer in Wisconsin. They all had HR people.
Right.
And this was at a time where the internet was just being born. I know I'm aging myself here, but it felt like a very disruptive time where people weren't sure what jobs would exist. And HR felt not disruptible, right?
Right.
And so I went into it as a practice. I got a BBA with an HR emphasis. I hated compensation in college because I didn't understand that it wasn't scientific. There wasn't one right answer. There was a lot of art in it as well. But those things didn't matter as much to me because the highest paying job I was offered was in compensation.
There you go.
And I lived in New York at the time and was very fortunate to land in that field because I very quickly realized it's big enough for a career. The art versus science lends itself to creativity and a lack of precision that's required in other fields like accounting. So it really appealed to my nature.
So when you look back in your career of 20 plus years in compensation. It's a very niched area,
Yeah.
um, and one that's highly sought after,
Yeah.
and even more so in the last 5 years than I can remember in the almost 24 years of having AccruePartners. But what's been the most pivotal part of that journey for you? Because you have stayed, tried and true to the total reward space.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the field is big enough, right? There are many aspects. Compensation is big enough, frankly. You could be a broad-based compensation expert. You could go into incentives. Executive compensation sure has its part in that as well, and it's a very sought after type of expertise and also valuable in the
Mm-hmm.
marketplace. And then once you grow in your career, it's inevitable that benefits will be added. And now we're even seeing, growth into HR operations, HR technology out of the rewards
Mm-hmm.
corner of HR. And I just when I was growing up in compensation, really when I came to Charlotte, um, I I felt like the projects I was working on really had an opportunity to impact the business, but then to also be intellectually stimulated. And I like sitting at the cusp of, or at the sort of intersection of finance, the people, and senior leadership. I like that. And I also really liked knowing what everybody was paid.
Yeah. You know where everything sits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. At Krispy Kreme, we say the compensation people know where all the donuts are buried.
There you go.
Yeah.
Um, so you talk about HR operations, and we're seeing more roles just
Mhm.
with an HR operations title. I know when you first started at Krispy Kreme, I don't think you had any operations underneath you. You had pretty tall tasks just to kind of get some guardrails, if you will, with the on the total reward space and the complexity, since they had gone public and you starting there. But talk to us a little bit about what HR operations looks like to you and where the intersection of that is with your total rewards teams.
Yeah. So for us, I mean, HR operations means owning the technology. So the human capital management system, or HCM. It means owning the processes associated with onboarding your employees,
Mm-hmm.
like very fundamental foundational things like background checks, drug testing, new hire documentation, I-9 reporting, those types of very basic fundamentals to get your people in the door. And then it's the heart of what people do. It's processing and developing the process and technology around mobility in the organization, promotions,
Mm-hmm.
movement, that sort of thing. And then it's also, the systems that deliver a lot of the talent-based programs like performance management, like succession planning, and of course the other compensation-related processes like annual compensation cycle, benefits open enrollment, that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. I think at times the total rewards corner is viewed as sort of a black box. I think that total rewards leaders are comfortable perpetuating that illusion. And so I think there are a lot of people who grew up in talent in HR who still say things like, well, those are the numbers jobs or those are the technology jobs. And I'd rather sit over here in talent. And so a lot of total rewards leaders who have the technical ability and also the ability to move projects get the HR operations
So
functions
you're seeing
assigned to
that
them.
more and more in today's climate.
I am. More so than the blending of total rewards and talent, I see the blending of total rewards and HR operations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, and technology has brought all that together.
that's right.
And we're definitely in a more technological world today than ever before, and it's changing quickly. So, I guess on that topic, how is technology changing total rewards and AI in today's climate?
Yeah, so every every technology now, every technology vendor claims to have some form of AI incorporated, and
Hmm.
some really do. There are compensation survey tools out there that have true AI built into them, where the market data is in real time. It sifts through all of the job postings, on the internet in a specific geography. You can draw the geography. And through AI tools and these large language models, you can get to market data very quickly. Some of the claims are a little exaggerated around AI, but it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely coming. I mean, I would encourage any people entering into corporate America generally, but also and especially total rewards folks, whatever they do to make themselves comfortable with AI, especially some of the agentic tools that are
Mm-hmm.
out there. On the recruiting side, we're seeing, I think, the most advancements. The AI models are able to do pre-screen interviews, able to help to graduate candidates through phase one, phase two of the interview process.
Mm-hmm.
So freeing up managers to just focus on final interviews and placement and onboarding. So we're definitely seeing that. I have a child in college and one about to be, and they asked me what they should go into, and I said, whatever it is, stay close to AI.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's changing fast
yeah,
in the landscape of the jobs,
yeah,
and how companies and HR departments can upskill that and the change management with it. And,
yeah,
um, I just know at Accrue Partners alone, where we've been early adopters, but it's changing how people work. And then once you get that component done, it's now, okay, now what do you do with this work that's come out of it? And then how do we get that ROI and keep, advancing that forward? And you have to keep it top of mind in the continuous training.
yeah. You have to learn different ways of working under
Hmm.
it. It's, like I said earlier, I remember a world where there was no internet. And
I
so
do too, by the way.
it's very much like that. It feels very exciting like that. The stock market feels very much like that. And I think that in 10 years, it's just going to be another thing
Hmm.
that we can't live without.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast over the weekend, and it was talking about, you can't be in a conversation without talking about AI today. Like, that's
Mhm.
almost impossible, I think. But, it's much like when the internet came out, jobs changed, or, you had, you know, computers on your desk, how jobs changed. And that it's just how we adapt to that and what we do with it to be more efficient. And it's that next evolution of the work environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, LinkedIn is replacing paper resumes, right?
Hmm.
Something like 40% of all jobs are placed through LinkedIn. So that there's definitely pressure on that function. I think, though, there still will be a differentiation amongst HR talent towards folks who can really effectively communicate verbally, communicate in person, present.
Hmm.
Still, there's still some of those what might be considered to be old-fashioned corporate skills that are still going to differentiate people.
Yeah, you can't take the human out of human resources,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
I always say that
That's
there is
right.
the word human in
That's
human
right.
resources.
Yeah, unless and until a robot is able to price a job, the reward space will be fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So what advice would you give someone looking to build their career in the total reward space as they look out the next 2 to 3 years? You told your kids, go to college, stay close to AI. What would be some advice you would give someone looking to enter the total reward space?
Yeah, so a couple things. I think entry level, um, I would recommend that, like any other craft, you spend the proverbial 10,000 hours on it. Work really hard to become a technical expert in the field, right? So engage a network of compensation professionals, join the roundtables, go to the conferences, and network in your market with people of like mind and in like roles for sure. The other thing I would say, I'm a bit old school this way. I've read a ton of books on, 7 habits of successful people, whatever you want. And there are a lot of inconsistencies, but one consistency, either implicitly or explicitly stated in these books, is you have to work a lot of hours. Um, you have to put in the time.
Mhm.
This notion of work smarter, not harder, I don't understand that. I have a hard time relating to that. I think the the answer to that is to do both.
Mhm.
I think successful people put in a lot of time.
Mhm.
Makes me a little nervous when I get in an interview, especially at the entry level, and somebody asks about the work-life balance at a job. When I entered the workforce, and again, I admit I'm old school, but when I entered the workforce, I would put in any amount of hours that was asked of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, I'm biased to compensation. I think it's a technical field where it's easier to transition into adopting benefits into your role as a compensation leader than it is to grow up on the benefits side and absorb compensation, particularly when you talk about executive compensation and
Right.
dealing with the board.
Mm-hmm.
Those are acquired skills that if you already have those things, I think it's easier to adopt the other
To
functions, the
fold in the benefits.
HR technology, payroll,
Mm-hmm.
benefits to fold that in later.
Yeah, yeah. I would say in the searches that we've worked historically, I always say it's a 70-30. Someone's going to be 70% on one of those and 30% on the other. And it is the compensation component that is the harder component to find someone that's the real expert in.
Mm. Yeah,
Um, and it's just a lot more technical and there's more to it. And
yeah,
not discounting benefits by any stretch of the imagination. I used to handle benefits for AccruePartners, so I get that.
yeah.
It's not easy either, and it's always
Correct.
changing.
Correct.
Total Reward sits at the intersection of HR, finance, and the executive suite. And obviously, you're having to balance all three of those and work to influence the outcome. What would you say is the balance of that, and what has made you good with that craft?
Yeah, so I've served under many good leaders, um, and the really good ones who could influence the conversation are able to take data and convert it into a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
To show the rigor of a built-out business case. It's a real skill, right? And we have a lot of tools like the AI tools to help you sort of define what a business case might look like, but um, you have to put rigor into your study, but you also have to show that you can speak the language and know the business,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when you're trying to build a case and it's usually you're asking for incremental funding, you have to prove the ROI.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. So we had an incentives project. This is years ago, though, now, and it was frontline non-exempt employees, and we were asking for more funding for a company-wide incentive plan for them. And one of the data points we included in our business case was to show that only a very small increase in one of the metrics' performance would pay for the incremental funding that we asked for. There were other data points, of course, in the analysis, but leadership really liked that we showed them what the ROIC
Mm-hmm.
or ROIC could be on that investment in our human capital. I think leaders appreciate that rigor. I think they appreciate when you don't just throw data over the fence, that you make it tell a story and sort of prove out your case.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they appreciate authenticity, right? If there are things you don't know, just be honest with that and be honest about that and go get it.
Yeah, yeah. It's a delicate dance, but you do have to show the ROI,
It is.
and you have to get the funding from somewhere.
It is. And you have to be, it takes time, but you have to be confident in the room. These are senior leaders under tremendous amount of pressure to deliver a P&L, and I have
Mm-hmm.
the utmost respect for those people. They are under pressure every day. Salespeople to meet their quotas.
Mm-hmm.
And so you owe it to them to know their business and then
Mm-hmm.
to help them help them deliver and to be true business partners. You can't just go in and sort of sling data around, and it really takes time and um, repeat performances in the room to be comfortable in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How have you, as a total rewards leader, worked to get to know the businesses? I mean, you've been in the healthcare industry, the cosmetic industry, now the food service QSR industry, all a little
Yeah.
bit different. And obviously, you do have to get to know the business and the different functions and what drives them in order to do the total rewards and the work that you do best. What would you say is your secret sauce to understanding the business?
Yeah, again, it's just time with the leaders, right? Not sitting at your desk, going out into the field. For me, this started way back in college in an internship. I was at a local manufacturer, and I had to write job descriptions, and so I could have sat at my desk and wrote them, but I went into the factory and watched these people do these roles. That you don't always have that benefit. You can't travel necessarily all over the country, but even there were even times they let me do these
Yeah.
things to see what it was like. And so, my move as a compensation leader, especially because the skills are very transferable. Once you know that craft, they're very transferable between industries.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really spending time with the leaders delivering the results. I really enjoy spending time with sales folks, and at Krispy Kreme, I love spending time in the shops, being with our general managers of the shops, working alongside
Mm-hmm.
our frontline employees, actually experiencing the job. Is there's nothing that compares to learning the business like that. And then also working with your finance leaders, just spending the time to ask the questions to understand how all of that work translates to the financials.
Yeah. Well, and without the employees at the shops and at the front line, nothing else exists.
That's right.
So
They're
if
the
you don't have
drivers.
them, you don't have any comp to work on.
That's right. That's right.
So I guess I mentioned early on that we've seen a rise in the total reward space since really the pandemic set in, which is now over 5 going on 6 years ago. And it's been a very interesting and fun space to operate in. But from your perspective, what drove that surge in that increase? Because between that and payroll, those two skill sets really increased significantly, and it hasn't stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the data, but I suspect that like in other fields there was retirement out of the function. I think during the pandemic also, total rewards leaders took on tasks that were in addition to their total rewards responsibilities. A lot of total rewards professionals became companies' chief medical officers.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of new operations around and related to the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I think the role, even in the most quote unquote normal of times, is very political and very prone to burnout. I think, when you're dealing with pay, you do see the underbelly of corporate America, right? And that can be, that can drive towards burnout. I've had people who, sort of quote unquote fly too close to the sun. The role becomes more political than it is transactional. You see unfairness, to be truthful and frank. I used to think everybody was paid what they're worth and relative to the value they contribute to the organization. But like I tell my kids, you only find fair in the dictionary. And so sometimes people get up into that strata and realize they want to be more transactional or move to the talent side or move out of HR. I think all of those forces played into it. And I think fewer talented people are entering into it. I think finance, the technical space, I think, even things like the media contribute to HR. I don't see any positive quotes on X or other social media platforms around HR. It's always, Toby from The Office, some evil villain like enforcing arbitrary rules behind the scenes. And so I think the function has suffered sort of reputationally in the media a little bit too. But the total rewards is an area starving for talented people to come in.
So I guess if that's the case, what are companies doing to attract the talent, to encourage talent, to get exposure to this from an internship perspective so that you can start to bring people up or move people from finance or take someone from payroll that just has a natural knack for numbers and teach them the benefit side? What do you see companies doing to groom that talent?
Yeah, I think all of that. I think also they're paying these people more. And some of it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because, the compensation people control the survey data. and so it's the highest among the HR jobs generally. I love to hire people from audit, from
Okay.
finance, people who can push projects. I love hiring project managers into the
Mm-hmm.
role because I can teach the craft.
I love that.
It's
I've never heard anybody
yeah,
say that.
I really like hiring auditors. And audit is a place where you focus on details, focus on process, controls, understand the business. There's high burnout over there because it's very repetitive and such a grind.
Mm-hmm.
I love hiring those folks into compensation roles. Um,
So you're looking at the parallel skill sets from audit to comp,
mhm,
which I love because too often people are looking at what exactly have they done on their resume that matches exactly
yeah,
everything over here on the job description, which, oh, by the way, changes a lot.
yeah,
And so you have to find ways to be creative. And it's a craft that can be taught if they have the parallel skill sets.
that's right. Yeah,
Um,
they're curious by role, by nature, by
yeah,
training, right?
yeah.
They're told to keep digging. There's a reason, when we're being audited, we say, give the auditors exactly what they asked for, nothing more, nothing less.
Hmm.
But auditors will probe and find and be curious because that's their training. And so that is a skill that is transferable almost anywhere in a corporate job,
Hmm.
but especially on the total reward side, because you're trying to dig into the details,
Hmm.
understand these roles. How are they different from others? Deliver on projects, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So talking about benefits first, because we talked a lot about comp.
Mm,
To
yeah.
pivot to benefits for just a minute, benefits have changed post pandemic. Um, Healthcare has increased significantly, impacting the cost of benefits. People want dog insurance and all these other different benefits. How do you really control that, and what are you finding to be the most effective?
Yeah, it's a good question. The primary driver of a benefits leader now is to mitigate expense. Medical insurance is out of hand from an expense
Mm-hmm.
standpoint. That's the main job of a benefits professional, benefits leader, is to work the medical plan. There are other polls, like you say, though. You want to offer a broad suite of benefits that makes you competitive in the marketplace. It's interesting. I find a lot of these programs to be very poorly utilized, but people love working for companies that have them.
I was going to ask, what is the utilization?
It's super low,
So you
super
do all
low.
this work to
Yeah,
get all these cool, sexy benefits, and
yeah,
then the lack of interest isn't.
yeah. And even if they purchase the programs or they participate in them, they don't always utilize them. An example is um, like an eye benefit, right? It's an insurance not really worth it unless you engage with it and get your annual eye exam and
Mm-hmm.
do these preventative care things.
Mm-hmm.
But something like 25% of people who buy that insurance actually use the preventative benefits. And it's about the same for dental coverage. They have it, they pay for it, but they don't utilize it. And dental goes beyond just your teeth. The dentist can help to identify like up to 100 different diseases, early
Right.
detection. It's just not utilized, to say nothing about things like pet insurance or the employee assistance programs. We provide these things, but they are not utilized at a very high level, regardless of how much you campaign them.
Mm-hmm.
But people want to work for companies that have them.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
attraction tool.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And it retains people, right? You feel
Mm-hmm.
good that, even if you're not using that benefit, the company's providing for somebody else.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always an interesting topic
Yeah.
everywhere you go.
Yeah. Benefits are super technical, though. I spent a lot of time talking about comp because that's where I grew up. But benefits are super technical. The changing regulations, the
Mm-hmm.
growing expense. Medical plans have so many different levers to pull. The reinsurance around self-insured plans.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very complicated. So many vendors, so many data feeds in terms of the technology. It's not an easy role over there either.
Right, right. No, it's not. You got two complex groups.
That's right.
All right, so Accrue Partners, it will be launching our 2026 salary guide next week, which we're excited about. And obviously, this guide speaks to compensation in the market intelligence, talent intelligence in the market, But share with me just, I guess, briefly how you use that, what you find most helpful from it as you work through different projects for your organization.
Yeah, I think, back in the day in compensation, I think the surveys were king, from the consulting shops, the big boxes. That data was sort of uh, presented on a gospel level,
Right.
but it was older. Is you have to age it forward. It's last year's data, and so I think more and more as the function has evolved, especially with like things like pay transparency, pay equity, these types of uh, these types of available data, surveys like your salary survey become more and more critical.
Mm-hmm.
Accrue and other recruiting shops sit on the front lines of the market, and it's
Mm-hmm.
usually market specific, which is
Mm-hmm.
extremely valuable because it's truth there, right? And it's up to date, and it's what recruiters are actually seeing. I think if a compensation professional isn't engaging at least their internal recruiting, they should, and
Mm-hmm.
for sure they should be engaging folks like AccruePartners to understand what's really going on in a local market.
Yeah.
It's a powerful tool.
Yeah, we think so. And we do get a lot of compliments on it. And
Yeah,
we put a lot of effort to collect the data.
yeah,
And some years there are certain rules that will, change. Sometimes some of them go down. Coming out of the pandemic, there were some rules that we actually saw a decrease in compensation because people had overhired, overinflated,
right.
and uncertainty. And, the market does speak to us. A, it's the placements that we make. B, the candidates that we're talking to, what our clients are doing. Um, and so I'm glad to see that you find it super valuable and is a tool that you utilize.
Yeah, it's another data point to
Hmm.
arm to really get to the heart of the matter. We moved our corporate headquarters from Winston-Salem just before the pandemic. And so the reason for that was to tap into the talent here in Charlotte,
Right.
right? And so that's a powerful tool in understanding what the talent here costs.
Hmm.
And it's real data. It feels more real oftentimes than some of the salaries that you sort of can't see behind the curtain into how the data was assembled. And it's older, right?
Right.
So that salary survey is a fresh tool that compensation people should include in their um, in their analysis.
Yeah. So curious, when you talked about y'all relocating from Winston or to Charlotte or creating a dual headquarters, as I
Hmm.
like to call it at
Sure.
times, or do you feel that your organization will see an impact with the 12 or 13 companies that have been announced to relocate to Charlotte in 25 and into 26? It's exciting for the city that we're adding jobs across the spectrum from PE-backed companies to financial services technology companies to automotive manufacturing. Is that something when you think about going into the next year, looking at comp and benefits, while we have other companies coming to the area, we're going to have more competition than before? Is that some talk that you have with leaders?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it can't help but impact, right? For us, that means mostly impacting jobs in our support center, right? Because we are
Hmm.
so geographically distributed across the country.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's still an exciting time to live in Charlotte from that standpoint. The ability to tap into more and diverse talent, the sort of the growth that it brings in the community from a talent standpoint is exciting, and it's going to do nothing but drive prices up.
Yeah.
Both in on the compensation side, but also probably on the real estate side and all of these things. So the cost of living will probably go up, and along with that, the cost of labor.
Yeah. It's 1,200. Yeah. Some of them are
And
a couple of hundred, 1,200, 1,500 jobs. So,
yeah, I lived here since 2004, and I'm still waiting for Charlotte to stop growing at such a rapid pace.
well, I moved here in 2001 and I'm originally from Atlanta. And everybody's like, oh, Charlotte will be the next Atlanta. I'm like, do not say that. We do
Yeah.
not want that.
Maybe
um,
everything except for the traffic.
yeah, exactly. So, are there any other thoughts or comments that you would like to leave with our guest as it relates to entering the field of total rewards, comp, and benefits, and things to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an exciting and big enough place to build out a career.
Hmm.
The Total Rewards Corner, whether you grow up in HR operations or benefits or compensation, it's broad enough and deep enough um, to spend your entire career in. Right? There's growth opportunities everywhere. The skills are transferable. It's intellectually stimulating, and you have the chance to impact a business.
Hmm.
I don't mean to market necessarily for just Total Rewards, and I know I'm biased, but I happen to think it's maybe the most critical component of human resources as we go forward, especially on the benefits side, in terms of mitigating medical
Hmm.
expense. Um, and no, I think if anybody is interested in joining into that corner of HR, I think it would be worth your time to
Is
explore.
there a group in Charlotte that is focused on, like, there's SHRM for HR professionals, but is there a group specific for comp or in benefits or total rewards?
There are a couple roundtables. Can I say names?
Yeah.
So like Mercer sponsors a roundtable of Total Rewards
Okay. And
professionals.
they do it here locally.
They do meet
Okay.
about once a quarter. It's sort of informal but formal. There's a structure to a meeting. It's as much social as it is,
Mm-hmm.
social networking as it is learning the craft.
Mm-hmm.
It's keeping an understanding of what's going on in the field in the Charlotte area. There used to be, I think there still is a World at Work chapter, which used to be way back in the day, the ACA, American Compensation Association.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now it's World at Work, obviously, for a long time. There's a chapter here, and they offer discounts like on certification courses and that sort of thing. But other than that, the responsibility, people really have a responsibility to build up their own networks,
Mm-hmm.
because these types of things kind of come in and out.
Well,
But
maybe there's an opportunity
I
for
think
the
there is.
Accrue
I think
Partners
there
to do
is.
something there.
That's right.
There we go. All right. So let's go to rapid fire.
Okay.
So you touched on this a little bit. Your first job was in New York City,
hmm
but I don't want to assume that's your first career memory. What would you say that would be?
It was in New York. Um, it has nothing to do with work. So I was a greenhorn Wisconsinian who had just moved to New York. I got my first job at Avon Products,
Mm-hmm.
and it was at 1251 Avenue of the Americas, 1251 6th Avenue. It was like on the 30th floor or something. And so I got into the elevator, and I saw a person approaching the elevator. So I held the door for him. And he got on, and he's like, "Oh, you must not be from around here," because I held the door for him in New York City. And I said, "No, I'm actually from Wisconsin." And he said, "Oh, welcome to America." So that was my first experience with a bona fide New Yorker and
Yeah,
at my job.
at your job.
So I was like, this is a different place.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he appreciated you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thinking back, describe or tell us your best or worst leader, boss, however you may want to frame that. Would they always shape us into something?
Yeah.
But describe that
Like the individual?
however you want to.
Yeah. So I work for a great boss now.
Yes, you do.
Terry Zantice. She's extremely talented CHRO, really effective communicator, really great influencer of our global leadership team. I'm proud to work under her
She's
leadership.
amazing.
Amazing. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention Mark Zirkle. Mark was my first boss in Charlotte at Time Warner Cable.
Okay.
And mostly I was hired because we ended up getting a good parking spot at the Wing Place for lunch, I'm pretty sure. But I basically owe Mark everything.
Okay.
He's
So
a
he
great
got
leader.
you to Terry.
Yeah, man of faith, authentic, really laid the foundation. I was at Time Warner Cable 11 years.
Yeah, you were.
And Tom Matthews, the head of HR there, he was a great leader, culture builder. And so I owe a lot to my own drive to be an authentic leader to those gentlemen.
Mhm.
And I owe a lot of my faith journey to Mark Zirkle. So
Mhm.
I'm really grateful for that too.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, what would be one saying that you're known for?
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
That one gets lots of attention.
I used the word, I put that in a cruise calendar
Yeah.
one year.
Yeah.
And then I used the word adjudicate a
Uh-huh.
lot. And then I also tell my team at the end of every staff meeting to go out and get them before they get you. And that's an old quote from Hill Street Blues, if anybody remembers that old
Okay.
show
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
80s. Yeah,
Go out and get them before they get you.
that's
I like
right.
that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite restaurant
Of all time? Like,
or in Charlotte?
yeah, I mean, lunchtime it's Mama Cable's over on Tremont.
Never even heard of it. What?
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan. I wasn't a huge fan of these like acai and smoothie bowls, but this place is amazing. I first discovered it on a college visit with my daughter in Waco, Texas, and lo and behold, there was a location 1 block from
I was gonna say, that's got to be around the
the
corner
Krispy
from you.
Kreme offices.
And what is it called again?
Mamaka, Mamaka.
Mamaka. All right,
Yeah.
I'll be trying it.
It's the best,
Okay.
and it's good for you.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show today. It was great to follow your journey, hear more about the total reward space, your thoughts, where it's going, and the best place to find the talent.
That's right. Thanks,
So,
Amy.
thank you.
Appreciate it.